Hey everyone, a little bit of news for radio propagation in the coming days, especially for this weekend. A lot of people actually do their radio listening more on the weekend than weekdays because of work. We had in the past few days two sunspots that were actually very active in sending out solar flares. Solar flares are in three categories: the C, the M, and the X flares. C are the minor flares. M, you can take the M and put it as a medium flare, but they're pretty big. And the X flares are the strongest of all. Now, this week we had three or four M flares in close proximity. So, if this weekend you find that propagation is not particularly fantastic, don't worry, it could be because of geomagnetic storms from the incoming CMEs, which are coronal mass ejections, that typically often are sent out or kind of pushed out of the sun with these solar flares. But now there's a new sunspot, which is 1882. So you can see here this little flash of light, which is a picture of the solar flare. And it comes from this sunspot. We don't see it very well, but I'm going to push to the edge of the sun. And here this is 1882 is the number that it was given. And this sunspot produced in less than, in about 6 hours, different 6-7 hours. That's at 08 UTC, and then again at 1500 hours UTC, two X flares, which are big flares, X1 and the X2. And so to give you an idea, the X scale goes to about 30. So they're in the beginning of X flares, but even an X1 flare is a big flare. Now, they're not Earth directed, but it does kind of send a message that if you're listening and suddenly you lose propagation, because when a big flare erupts from the sun, what it does is the upper atmosphere will change and it will become ionized much more. And so you might be listening to a shortwave program this weekend, and if you're on the sunlit side of Earth while you're listening, if you lose the signals, don't worry, your radio's not broken. It's probably that another flare was sent by the sun. So for this weekend, October 26th, 27th, today, October 25th, 2013, check out the propagation and check out the websites that I actually talked about about a week ago on solar activity. Solar Ham is one of the great ones, and it shows you all the information. It says here another X flare, X.2.1, that was at 1503 UT. You have the pictures of the flare actually on the sun. Great website. You can see here these are the coronal mass ejections, which are plasma gases from the sun that are basically sent out by the explosion of the solar flare. So don't worry, there's no danger here on Earth. We're protected from these events. At least these kinds of events. There are really exceptional events that might be more dangerous, but this is routine. And since the sunspot's not Earth directed, I don't think these are going to actually do any geomagnetic activity. But still, the other flares that were reported yesterday and on the 23 might actually give us some kind of variable conditions for this weekend, October 26th, 27th, and even Monday, October 28th. So take a look at these websites, solarham.net and spaceweather.com, for more information. The sun is really waking up. But apart from that, solar activity, the solar flux has risen a lot in the past few days thanks to this heightened solar activity. 161 is the solar flux for today. That's good. It's one of the best solar flux that we had in this solar cycle, which means that the higher frequency should propagate really well. And even evening propagation, that tends to be a little less interesting at this time of year, might actually give you some really cool propagation in the 9 and 11 megahertz frequency of international shortwave bands. And even take a look at 15 megahertz, you never know. So hope you enjoyed this little piece of information about solar flares and how the sun is acting up. And doesn't mean that propagation will be bad this weekend, but if you find that your radio is not receiving as well, it might be because of the solar flares that we had in the past few days. So hope you enjoyed this little update on solar activity and 73.